Hello and welcome to the video on random forest algorithm. Random forest is one of the most popular machine learning algorithm that belongs to the supervised learning technique. Again, random forest can be used for both classification and regression problems. It is based on the concept of ensemble learning, which is process of combining multiple classifiers to solve a complex problem and then improve the performance of the model. So most of the time, if you try a few different algorithms like logistic regression, SVM, KNN, decision tree, and random forest on different classification problems, most of the time random forest will be best performing model without any hyperparameter optimization. So this is a go-to ML algorithm for most of the ML engineers out there. So as the name suggests, random forest is a classifier that contains a number of decision trees on various subsets of a given dataset and takes the average to improve the predictive accuracy of that dataset. Now, instead of relying on one decision tree, the random forest takes the prediction from each tree and based on the majority votes of predictions, it predicts the final output. So the greater number of trees in the forest leads to higher accuracy and it also prevents the problem of overfitting. If you remember carefully from the video of decision tree, the in the disadvantage section of the decision tree we mentioned that sometimes due to the increasing length of decision tree it tends to overfit on the data. So this problem can be prevented by using random forest. Now this is a visual representation of how random forest works. So training data set 1, training data 2, training data n. Now again you have a first decision tree, second decision tree and the end decision tree. Now you take the voting or averaging of all the decisions given by these different decision trees on different subsets of training data. And finally after averaging you give the final prediction. Now this is how random forest works. Now let's take one example. So suppose there is a data set that contains multiple fruit images. So this dataset is given to random forest classifier. The dataset is divided into subsets and given to each decision tree. So here you have a dataset that contains multiple fruit images. Now this dataset is given to random forest and this dataset will be divided into subsets and each subset is given to a new decision tree. So during the training phase, each decision tree produces a prediction result. So this decision tree, let's say, predicts that this belongs to class A. The second decision tree tells that this belongs to class A, and the third or the nth decision tree tells that this belongs to class B. Now then, when a new data point occurs, then based on the majority vote results, the random forest classifier predicts the final decision. So as the majority vote is for class A, so the final predicted class will be class A based on the entire random forest algorithm. So this is how the random forest algorithm works. I hope you are very clear with the working of random forest algorithm. Now let's move to the Jupyter notebook and try to implement and see the accuracy that we are able to achieve by simply using random forest algorithm. So let us start with the practical implementation of random forest. First of all, let me import pandas and numpy. So import pandas as pd and import numpy as np. Okay, we have here pan, import pandas as pd. Now what we'll do, I'll import the dataset as a data frame. So df.pd.read_csv, and here I am using user data.csv, and let's see what do we have inside the dataset. So these are the attributes that we have inside the dataset. Now we'll split up the x and y or the dependent or independent features. So df of the independent features will be age and let's say estimated salary. So we are using these two columns to predict whether the customer will purchase or not. So df of purchased. Now after this, let me split the dataset into training and testing part. So from sklearn.model_selection import train test split. It will take some time to import and it's done. So I'll make my x train, then I have x test, then y train and y test. This is train test split, and I'll use x and y. I want to use 20% data for testing, so test size will be equal to 0.2. So now I have my x train, x test, y train and y test. Now let us import our random forest classifier from the sklearn.ensemble. So from sklearn.ensemble import random forest classifier. So now I'll make one classifier instance, so CLF will be random forest classifier. As of now, I am not giving any specific hyperparameters. I want just a default classifier, and I want to train this, so I'll use the fit method, and I'll train it with the help of x train and y train. So x train, and I have y train. So based on this, I'll train my random forest classifier. Now next thing I want to do, I want to check the predictions. So y pred will be equal to CLF dot predict, and I want to predict x test. So all the predictions will be stored in ypred. As you can see, we are getting all 0 1 1 0, all the predictions. Now let's check the accuracy that we were able to achieve with the help of the random forest model. So from sklearn dot matrix import accuracy score. Now I will write accuracy score is let's say y test and y pred. So again we are getting 87.5% accuracy by using the random forest classifier. So for a normal machine learning model without performing any hyperparameter optimization, we are able to achieve such a good score of 87.5%. So I hope you are clear with the practical implementation and basic understanding of random forest. Now let's move to the next video. Thank you.